All right, well, Harvard University interim president Alan Gruber has rededicated the school to, quote, free inquiry and expression. Free speech, really? Wow, this comes following the resignation of Claudine Gay and her plagiarism problems. Gruber made the comments in a letter to the Cambridge, Massachusetts campus community on the 8th of January titled, Our Work Together. He stated in part, we have been subjected to an unrelenting focus on fault lines that divide us, which has tested the ties that bind us as a community, devoted to learning from one another, rededicating ourselves to free inquiry and expression in a climate of inclusion and a spirit of mutual respect has never mattered more. Does this mean a permanent shift for Harvard, or is it just damage control? I'm going to go with the latter. Here to discuss it from Campus Reform, my friend Emily Sturge. Emily, nice to see you.
Always great to see you, Steve.
All right, so look, I think it's damage control. That's where I'm coming down on this. I think that these universities are going to continue to try to sell this left-wing filth and try to sneak in under the radar, but maybe I'm just jaded and a pessimist. You're more in tune with all these things than college campuses, Emily. What say you?
I think that this story shows that the candidate hired for diversity purposes is not always the best candidate. The left is constantly pushing this idea that candidates need to be hired based on how many boxes they can check, whether that's race or gender or sexual orientation. And this story shows, as Claudine Gay resigned, it shows that that candidate is not always the most qualified. Harvard should be looking for the most qualified candidate as they're searching for a new president to fill that role permanently, and they should be looking at somebody who can best serve the students and provide leadership that protects those basic First Amendment rights. That's common sense. That's like begging for the bare minimum that students have to have, beg for their First Amendment rights. So I hope that their more permanent president really supports and commits the university to those rights.
Two things that you said there, Emily, I want to point on. Meritocracy, number one. The best people should always be pushed forward. I want the best person. I don't want somebody chosen because of the way they look to fly the airplane or perform surgery on me. I want the best person no matter who they are, what color they are. I don't care. I don't care if they're big and tall, fat and small, as long as they're qualified to do the job in the best way possible. And then as you look at this diversity going down the road, I wonder if we can get back to that, this DEI mentality, this ESG mentality. I just feel like we've gone into the ditch, and campuses all over this country, they continue to teach that. Whether or not the Harvard president changes, it's what's taught in the classroom that's more concerning to me on a day-to-day basis. What do you think?
Absolutely, Steve. This story is much bigger than Harvard, and it's much bigger than one person on the university administration. This story shows that the left has conquered our American universities inch by inch. We report these stories at the Leadership Institute's Campus Reform, and we talk about the things that the left is installing in the classroom, whether that's critical race theory or diversity and equity and inclusion or LGBTQ. These are values that the left is installing in our classrooms so that our students have these ideals and graduate and take these ideals into the workplace. So we need to start by hiring university administrations that aren't pushing these ideals, because we're seeing students graduate and take these into the workplace, and they're creating toxic workplaces. They're not graduating college with critical thinking skills. They're graduating college with just this one set of ideals that the left has prescribed to them. And that's not right. That's not what should be going on in this country.
Yeah, that's the way it should be. Look, we want the best people doing the best jobs possible. We want people rewarded for hard work, which is key. Hard work and quality work. That's what we want around here. I don't know if we change it, though, Emily. The way we start to change it, though, is to continue to get out and vote. And that's my message for 24. If you don't trust the system, that's okay. You have to vote. Otherwise, you surrender to this nonsense across the board. So it starts with one thing that we're all equal on. Millionaires, billionaires, and ordinary folks, too. One person, one vote. Emily, I'll give you the last word.
Well, this will be my first presidential election I get to vote in, so I'm very
Congratulations.
Thank you. But once again, I'm looking back to the ideals of education. That's something that I'm looking for when I'm looking on the ballot. And I believe, as a college student, my campus should be a place of intellectual diversity. I should be able to voice my beliefs, whether they're conservative or liberal. Students should be able to talk and discuss these things in the classrooms without having professors silence them. So that's something I'm looking for as we're heading to the 2024 elections. And I'm excited to cast my first vote.
100%. Campuses are supposed to be a place where there's a free exchange of ideas, not people freely silencing those that they don't like. Emily, as always, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
All right, up after the break. Looks like Jordan Peterson is heading room 101 for re-education training. Yeah, details next. He's heading to room 101 for re-education training. Please. This guy's a genius. I'll be back.